Welcome back to the Better by Nature podcast, where we're talking with folks who have inspiring stories of overcoming adversity by relying on natural remedies. Today I'm joined by Mark Samuel, founder of IWON Organics. Mark is a passionate leader trying to help folks live a healthier life. Mark has faced nonstop waves of adversity throughout his career as an entrepreneur. He stays driven by keeping a high priority on his health and feeding off the deep joy he gets from his time with his kids. Before we get started, this episode is brought to you by Life Leaf Remedies. At Life Leaf Remedies, we are passionate about making natural remedies that help you feel better today. Check us out today at lifeleafremedies.com. Now, I hope you'll enjoy this episode of the Better by Nature podcast and feel better today, y'all. Welcome back to the Better by Nature podcast. I am joined by Mark Samuel today here from IWON Organics, and he's a serial entrepreneur and a serial entrepreneur at this point, right? You've started a few companies, and now you're doing IWON, and you guys actually have cereal that you're offering. I say that because that's one of the products I've tried. Love it. Love what you guys are doing. And please, sir, give us a little introduction to yourself.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, no, we don't have cereal anymore, unfortunately. So sorry to break the news for you.
Oh man,
I know.
Darn.
It was tough to do, but I'll give more context to that later. So Mark Samuel, IWON Organics, started in 2016. We're in California. Live in the North Bay. In Marin County. Shout out Marin County. Go Dubs. Organic plant-based snacking platform. We are best known for our puffs and our sticks. We did have a cereal, which was amazing. But in this new year, we really had to focus on what was working in all ways. A lot of it has to do with financial metrics as well. So we, instead of the cereal, we opted in to pursue a popcorn product that we just launched. So that's what we're doing. So we have a sticks, puffs, and a popcorn line, and we're just forging ahead.
Nice, cool, man. Well, I appreciate you joining me today. You know, as some of the folks might have listened to previous episodes, you know, we're talking about natural remedies and helping us overcome adversity in our lives. And you're somebody that I've been following on LinkedIn for a little while, and you really offer a great perspective for folks who are, you know, enduring some tough things, you know, challenges, you know, and for as an entrepreneur yourself, it seems like your entire career, no doubt you faced plenty of challenges, I can imagine. So, you know, to just get us kicked off here, you know, you've had, like I said, several projects, and you know, what do you think has been your most challenging venture that you've been on?
As far as everything that I've been involved with over my career?
Sure. Yeah.
All of them. Every one of them has thrown a curveball or 100. And so
Yeah.
I would say the focus now is on this one at IWON. I've been going at this longer than I had anything previous. So that's fairly new. We're on year 7, which is a fairly long time for me. This one is something, though, that does take a long time, much longer than what people probably realize when they're getting going. And so, you know, the obstacles and the continuous obstacles, there's plenty. Anybody who's in the space understands the sentiment. It was before all this. It wasn't just like, oh, because of the way things are happening and the world is turning and everything like that. No, they were there before, but there's just heightened now. There's a lot more things to deal with. Liquidity is one big one, as many know. So it requires us to face tough times.
No doubt, man. Yeah, it's absolutely tough times. And, you know, that's something I'm learning firsthand on an entrepreneurial journey here in year 2 for me. But yeah, the long time, I mean, that's something I think that can be challenging for a lot of folks, even if they have resources and expertise and, you know, they're as prepared as they can be, man. Sometimes the length of the journey can be very unpredictable, and the marathon is a real thing. Um, so yeah, I mean, you are outspoken about your philosophies on balancing family and health with your professional career and the things that people are passionate about. What are those things like that you've seen as far as your own experience that have helped you and maintain that balance? I think that's something I personally struggle with, and I got a growing family and a growing company, but what would you say that's helped you the most?
I don't think it's what's helped me the most. I think we're just all cut a different way.
Okay.
And and there's nothing, there's not nothing that's better, one that's better than the other. I just ultimately, especially men, and who are dads or parents, we're just cut differently,
Yeah.
and it could be for many different reasons. But ultimately, it's knowing yourself and how you want to lean into those things, right? Lean into what makes you tick. And for me, I just really enjoy going and being involved with kids' sports. I like going, like I look forward today. My son's got basketball practice after school. Like I actually look forward to that than to be sitting in here grinding. And I know most would say, yeah, but I know because work's so tough. No, not no. I know a lot of people who like love this stuff, right? And it's not to take away from that. Like I love to do this. I love what we're building, why we're building it. I still get up, you know, excited to get this done and ultimately to build this to where I think it can go. But I'd much rather, much like it's not even in the same realm of what I would prefer to be doing and what makes my heart smile. And that is really like going to do those things that I just mentioned. And so it's how we're cut.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you, man. That's cool. You don't hear people articulate it that way very frequently, so that's excellent. And I can agree. Now, my kids, my girls are too young; they're not in sports yet or any kind of organizations like that. But man, when they are, I can only imagine that that's exactly how I'll feel as well. And that's not for lack of passion for what I'm doing, like you've explained. I have a deep passion for what I'm doing. But man, when you see kids growing and you see them, just kind of becoming little people, it is a special experience. So wholeheartedly agree there. So,
They need you.
yeah,
They need you,
absolutely.
and every situation is its own. Like we have a certain situation that's different than some families, and my kids need me, and so that is my priority, and it will always be my priority. And so again, we're all cut differently, and we all look at life and work and balance differently, and I'm totally okay with that. Like do you do whatever makes you tick. I just know me, and I do like to talk about it because it allows other men, I don't mind saying that, I'm just talking about men,
Sure.
dad, to be okay with that. Like, oh, I hear this guy talks about, like, is that okay? Like, yes, it's okay. It's more than okay.
Absolutely.
And I just I feel like I can help with that sort of messaging and being able to talk about things that that sometimes, as you had just had said, is not articulated much. That's it.
Yeah, no, it's not. And oh shoot, I had a thing and I just completely lost the train of thought there.
That's okay.
But as far as the passion goes in all of that, I totally agree, man. And we do need to have these discussions. Now I got it. Because I think that there's a little bit of a tug of war on what we're supposed to prioritize, right? I feel that, right, there's one side that am I working hard enough? And then there's the other side, am I spending enough time with my kids? And that's something that if every man doesn't struggle with that, or every dad that's got kids, doesn't struggle with that, I'd really be curious how, what what is it that they're doing? They probably don't care enough, maybe, but no, I think it's a great thing that someone like you is presenting as like this is something real that we should acknowledge, because a lot of folks in leadership positions, they're more hardcore about let's get the job done. Let's, make sure that it's work first. Or, I think maybe everybody's experienced something like that in a boss or a superior. So I love it, man. I wanted to be able to highlight your thoughts on that, and to take it further about you seem to have a passion for organics, for natural remedies, things like that. I don't think you would have maybe dumped as much as you have into IWON if you hadn't. So was that passion fueled by your family and how you wanted to take care of them, or did that come
No,
from somewhere else?
it's just health. I mean, which I talk a lot about, right? Health being needing to be a priority. It needs to be the number one priority in your life, right? So,
Absolutely.
IWON Organics is a tentacle to that, right? Because we are making better for you products. But I say it all the time, and I've said it, and I talk about it like we're a snacking platform. If you were to go to the core of what I talk about, and what I believe in, snacking should be secondary. Like I would prefer more people snacking less. And people are like, "Wow, wait, but don't you have a? Aren't you a?" Yeah, yeah, because I'm actually talking in transparency. I tell truth, right?
Right.
I'm not hawking some bullshit that 95. No, no. Shout out to everybody else. It's not about you. I'm just saying what's fact, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Like I'm not trying to grab onto something here, to like hang on to a mission. I'm just
Right.
talking fact. Like I would prefer everybody eating whole, nutritious foods. Like
For
I do. I
sure.
eat that 80 to 95% of the time, right? 80 some weeks or 70, but but that's how you provide a foundation to your health. On top of and layered in there is exercise, which I talk about all the time as well. So those are two
Yes.
fundamentals that you need, and it should be your number one priority. So I know it's kind of funny that I just had spoken about kids or being a
Right.
parent and the like, but that's actually secondary. And I
Right.
and I go further on that, and I always say this because your health has to be your number one priority. You have to be selfish with it, your own personal health, because if you aren't healthy, both physically and mentally, which those two things are attached to, right? You can't help others,
Right.
you can't help them, and you can't be your best to help them. So again, it goes on. And so as far as IWON and being a part of this health journey, that's, yes, there are pieces to it as far as why it was started and where we're going on it with that platform and its journey.
Excellent. Yeah. So where did that passion for health originate for you?
Early. So I've
Yeah.
been what I would consider, somebody would say, a health enthusiast, right, or a fitness enthusiast for 20, now going on 25 years, right?
Yeah.
So after I played a year of soccer in college, and then I knew that I was not going to be able to care, it wasn't going to take me anywhere, right? All the commitment there. So I found the gym, and I just, I fell in love with it. I had played around in the gym prior to that, but like not in the way that I had started, those 5 and 6 days a week where I was like starting routines and things like that. So that's when it was started, and I connected it with food. So didn't have any money
Yeah.
at the time, and so I was connecting it with what I considered to be healthy options that were extremely low cost. So like frozen chicken and white rice, and so I
Right.
connected those two dots and applied them every single day, and that's what started the journey.
Nice. So just step by step, it just never lost passion for you. It only gained and kind of snowballed, it seems like.
Absolutely, it was a lifestyle, and I
Yeah.
still say this to the day. If I did not start that and maintain it, I would probably be in a world of trouble. I mean,
Oh yeah.
it is what stabilizes me mentally, and then of course physically. But I talk about the mental piece a lot, about dealing with depression and anxiety. It is the foundation to my daily semblance. And I want that for everybody. So it's also why I talk so openly about it, to share the journey with people.
Love that, man. Absolutely love that. And I can relate to that. I played, Division III football. That obviously isn't something that for most guys has NFL career written on it. There's a few that broke the mold, but yeah, I mean, that's where mine originated too. It was one of those things that's kind of cut into you, and then when you're no longer doing the organized thing, you're like, well, I still have to satisfy this. Like, this isn't something that just goes away because I'm not playing a sport anymore. Where I think for a lot of people that's what happens. It's no longer required for you, so you don't do it. But no, I mean, I love it. I love that philosophy, and it's a very important balance. It's like putting your mask on the airplane before you help somebody else if something's happening, right? And it seems almost immediately counterintuitive, but that's the point. Is if you can't help yourself, you can't help someone else. You're not going to be around to help someone else, and so yeah, that's the message we're trying to spread with this podcast, man, is just the importance of these natural things. Let's pull ourselves away from crutches and other things, sugars and screens and all these things that seem, in a vacuum harmless, but collectively are killing us. And just trying to offer folks a real path to that. So, like, to piggyback on something you just said, if you hadn't maintained that lifestyle from an early point, it would have been very hard, if not impossible, to catch up to that, right? I mean, it's something that it's the rent's due every day, and it doesn't have to be, hey, today I can go from never running to running 5 miles. It's kind of, I guess, to piggyback on David Goggins a little bit, he started with a quarter mile, right? And it was the hardest thing he'd ever done at the time, and that kind of thing. And so how would you, I guess, maybe what kind of suggestions would you have for folks who did let that slip away? Like, how do they take that first step of getting that momentum built up? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. And as cliche as it sounds, you have to start,
Right.
right? And so what does that mean? I'm a proponent of the foods first, right? It's often said like the way you feel and the way you look, or even it starts in the kitchen. The exercise piece is layered in there. It's a requirement, and it's a partnership, right, with nutrition. But the biggest problem that we have, this is a global thing, is our relationship with food. We have a horrible relationship with food because we're sold so much bullshit. And beyond just the bullshit that we're sold what to eat, when to eat, how to eat. We're sold all these new diets. I mean, just recently, right? Which is, I think, starting to have its own fade, but right, like, this is not to punch one diet over the other, right? But there was the low carb and the low carb to no carb craze. It's a
Yeah.
horrible way to try and fix or correct things that you weren't doing before. It's not teaching you the fundamentals, and like I go back to saying, giving you the tools to have a healthy relationship with food. And once you do, like when you understand proteins and carbohydrates and fats and what they do and how they affect you, you can then just start eating and not stressing yourself out all of the time. And people are trying to grab onto the new stuff, the oils and all that, which I'm cool with too. We can talk about that, inflammatory and all that. But put all that aside. Just understand what the foods do for us. Like, have a relationship with it where you're not stressing about it. And you can have a slice of pizza. You can have a little small cut, I don't know, a little ice cream here and that. Like, it's all good. And so I going back to the question, it's starting there. It's checking in on how you eat and what you eat. Once you've dialed that in and make it more of a lifestyle thing, right? You're not talking to your friends about what diet you're on. You're on your own lifestyle of eating well. And it
Right.
just starts becoming habit. Then you're layering in the exercise, which you need. Your body, you're physically, mentally, you need it. Endorphins. It's the greatest and most natural high you're ever going to get. And again, going back to it, for those that suffer from mental issues as far as depression, anxiety, and the like, your body and mind thanks you for it, right? And so once you start really rocking and rolling with those two things, you may start to feel the change, and you may like it so much you don't want it to go away. That's called lifestyle. That's called
Yes.
lifestyle. And so it all starts with just day one. And that's, I know it's so much easier said than done. I'm so empathetic
Yeah.
to those that, struggle with it, but that's the framework.
No, no doubt, man. I could not agree more. And I think one thing that I'd also layer on top of that, as far as like, you're saying we're being sold and our relationship with food is horrible. I mean, you cannot walk through a gas station without having to mentally say no like 100 times. You can't walk through the grocery store. And now, again, that's part of making your right decisions. If you go through a Trader Joe's, it's going to be a little easier to make better decisions than if you're going through a Walmart. But the point being, not everybody has a convenient Trader Joe's. Sometimes you got to walk through a Walmart and you got to say no to so many things subconsciously, just to get in and out of that place to get your bread or whatever it is you're going for. So being aware of those things, I think, is something that is massively important and goes along with what you said as far as like our relationship with food. It starts with awareness, and once you're aware of those things, you can then empower yourselves to make the better decision. Just being aware that throwing some ketchup on your fries adds sugar to it. It's like, man, fine, fries are good by themselves, man. I'll just have some fries without ketchup. Or, trading out your soda for a water once a day and then maybe twice a day. And, just kind of letting those things continue on. But then to also emphasize your point, I think if you are able to build that momentum and you get to that point where like, I feel better now and I don't want to go back. If you do slip, it'll feel way worse than it ever did before. It'll feel so bad. You'll notice that your gut will feel bad. You maybe don't move as well. Your energy will be down. So yeah, I love those points, man. And I try to emphasize those things on this podcast as much as we can, because there's a lot of pressure out there on everybody to achieve it all at once. I think you're kind of alluding to that a little bit as well. Realizing that we're behind on things and then trying to get out there and correct it in one single day. But really the most important thing you can do is take a step. So one thing, I guess I'm pivot a little bit, but one thing that I really like to ask on this podcast and get a good story out of is there a moment, I'm sure there's more than one, but maybe one that particularly stands out to you in your entire career? It doesn't have to be professional. It could be personal. It could be, as far as like your fitness goals or anything like that. Was there a moment where you've had your back against the wall and you just kind of felt it all falling in on you? You just didn't know how to take that step forward.
Yeah. That's every week. I think for those that go through it and do what we do, I don't think that there's ever really a week or a month that goes by that it's not like that. I'm sure there are those who are in our position who, let's just say, are well financed. I think that relieves a lot of pressure.
Sure.
The likelihood of failure is, even if it's imminent, it's so much further down the road, right? Like you might have money in the bank and your business isn't working. It
Right.
still relieves a whole bunch of pressure. Because when the pressure is that the lights may go out, like that, you're running out of capital and you have no way of getting more. That's daunting. I don't
Yeah.
think that there's anything that compares to that. So for those that have been in this situation, even us, we're so tight right now, and the market is so different than it was 1 year ago. That you're facing these things of, I don't know if I'm going to make it, and I talk openly about, like, we don't know if we're going to make it.
Yeah.
And what sucks is when you're in our position where you actually have a good product.
Right.
Brand's been in place for now. We're going on year 7.
Yeah.
People know us, they buy us. We can we show, like, there's recurring sales all the time. People come to me that, like, funny enough, at the soccer field, like, you're the best snacks and all, we buy them all. Like, no, when you have that and that, oh my gosh, we might not make it, that's pretty daunting. And I don't know if anything really compares to that. So as far as, how do you push through, or has there been a recent, time? It's now. Like, you just
Yeah.
keep forging ahead, and you put as many irons in the fire as possible. That's what we've been doing. I'm having as many conversations as possible, and it's that coupled with, some timing and luck, and you just might be able to get it to swing at bat again, right? And because that's
Yeah.
all you're trying to do. You're just like, let me get up to bat one more time.
I
And
totally
so
agree.
that's the hope.
I totally agree, man. And I think it's different for every person I talk to for sure. But yeah, there is something about being in that kind of entrepreneurial position. I've described it before as kind of surfing on a wave. Like, you've surfed the wave, you've had wave to surf, but now you're on the edge of this wave. You don't know how much more you're going to have to surf, but you're just staying up, staying out of the water. Give me a little bit more to keep moving. No, I love that, man, and I love that you're willing to be vulnerable and show people like, hey, we may appear to be an established brand, and very much are an established brand in a lot of ways. I was in a shop last week that I saw your products, and I'm trying to get mine in that shop as well. But it's very, very encouraging to someone like me who last year, that's exactly what I was facing. I didn't know if I was going to get another swing at the bat, right? I didn't have a whole bunch of investment capital to rest on. And part of that I feel like is a good thing. There's I guess the cliche of diamonds are made out of pressure, right? And all of that. But kind of like what we were saying before, that's a lot easier said than done. Like sitting in this position, you, like I mentioned, are very vulnerable and willing to tell people like, hey, looks good, may not always be good, it's hard to be here, but we keep fighting, and that's what gets you to year 7 is you're just fighting every day. Part of that, what I've noticed, is you're building community. Has that been intentional for you?
Not necessarily, specifically if we're talking about LinkedIn. Um,
A little
it
bit,
it
but
was. Oh yeah, I mean, I want to have its own community, and that's just organic, right? It's
sure.
those that purchase and have had us, and so the reality is you're building a community. You don't really even know it, right? Because they're in pockets. You got your East Coast, and you have people who hopefully are just talking.
Yeah.
Moms and are talking to other moms, and say, hey, I've been, we have this in our cabinet. That to me is community. You want as much of that as possible, especially if they can tell the story. Yeah, I know. I follow this person, or I've heard of it, or I know the stories on the back. It's this guy and his kids, and like that's community, right? That's what you're trying to do. And oftentimes it's very, very, very difficult to do that, especially if you have limited capital. It's one thing to be able to blast your story out with tens of millions in dollars. I mean, that's a lot easier to do. It's very difficult as far as what you're putting out if you're doing it right and the like. But if you have capital, it's a lot easier to tell your story in a shorter period of time. Now, putting that aside, as far as sort of a personal community, I just started writing content just like we're talking about now. A lot of it is about this, right? A few years ago, and it's morphed into what it is now. And yes, I'd consider I have a community of people who enjoy what I talk about just as much as I enjoy what many others talk about too. And a lot of it has to do with just helping, because
Yeah.
that has to be the focus of whatever that content is. It doesn't matter if I'm talking about CPG or health, um, or parenting. Like, it's just things that I've been a part of, or I'm a part of right now, and I want to talk about it in hopes that anything that I'm voicing is helping somebody who reads it.
Right. Right. No, that's awesome, man. And I think that to me, and that's something we're trying to do as well, is building community seems to be a difference maker. And it's something that is a difference maker because you can't really fake it. You can fake a lot of things. You can buy followers on Instagram, right? But a genuine community cannot be faked, and it can't be faked from either side, right? Like people aren't going to come together for a fake reason, and you're not going to be able to generate interest for a fake reason. So I think that that's something that is very telling in a time like this where there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of brands aren't sure about their future. Who is it that people are actually rallying around and creating community with? So I appreciate that, man, because to me, it has to go beyond our professional capacities. It really does have to be something that hits people where they are, where they live, and what is meaningful to them in their homes. Is there some kind of I don't know, like limit for you on where you can take these things?
No, I don't think so. I mean, because it goes back to what you said. I think people resonate with what I say or what I'm going to say sometimes because I really have no filter. I think those are at least for me, that those are the things that that I'm attracted to as well. Like I really don't like that clean as a whistle. Like it almost seems like was this thing. Did they rewrite this? I mean, because that's not, people know that that about me too. I don't pre-write anything. It's always off the cuff, and to me that creates more of the truths behind things, right?
Sure.
I've never like edited something or deleted it after. It's like that's what I was thinking of, and I put it out, and it is what it is. Um, Admittingly, I most recently kind of gotten, I don't know what you'd call it. I just had a little bit of people push back on something, but a lot of it is from people who I just think are literally like, I am trying my best to describe this, just off the rocker. I don't know what,
There's a lot of that.
I, and then I had somebody who I know ask me about it. Like they were questioning my intent, which was really new to me. I was
Wow.
surprised that I was being asked it. Yeah. And so, and my initial reaction is, I don't really give a shit. And I heard myself say it and I felt bad because of how it came and but I do because we all do give a shit.
Right.
Or else we wouldn't have a position. My
Exactly.
positions are always just a little loose. And what I mean by that is I don't really take things too serious. Like I don't take life too serious. You can see some of the way I banter with people. It's very like, elbow ha ha I'm not into all that serious stuff. Now,
Yeah.
if the subject is serious and it's sensitive, I get that too. That's why when I do articulate myself, I'm just speaking my truths.
Yep.
So, in some formats, especially today, when people are talking about sensitive subjects, they may read it and be like, "Wow, like, I don't, I don't wonder what he meant by that. Like, is he not sensitive to this?" But most who know me, they're like, "That cool. Like,
Yeah.
he's just being honest." So that's my take.
I love that, man. And I think that again, natural remedies fan here. Honesty has to be considered a natural remedy in this landscape. Whether you will face disagreement or not, we're all kind of robbing ourselves of the human experience if we're not honest with to an extent, right? And you don't need to go like passionate, like attack people because you're being honest, but I think that there's a way to be objective and be able to just say, look, like you're saying, this is my perspective, my truth, and my perception is reality, right? But being open to that changing, I think, is the step that's missing in a lot of ways. Is a lot of folks get kind of wrapped around like, this is the way it is, and I will not hear anything different. right? And it's almost a threat if somebody's willing to offer something that could change that perspective, and that I think it could be dangerous, and this is very important because relevant because you're talking about mental health, and boy, is mental health in a kind of a state of disarray right now. There's a lot of things we can do physically as far as adjusting our diets, go for a run and all of that. But anybody who's struggled with mental health knows that the first step is getting over that mental health, like, and being able to, and I've experienced a little bit of depression. I won't say that I've, gone through really anything comparable to a lot of folks out there, but sometimes when I've felt depressed, going out for a run, which is something I love to do, is seemingly impossible. And that's the part where I think relationships are actually a little bit more important than we realize. And I want to draw attention to your Monday morning thought that we had here. Shout out to Will Nitza. Love his Monday morning shower thoughts. But I think that your Uber workout concept is something that needs to be spotlighted a little bit, man. It's brilliant. If everybody had somebody that they could rely on to come just knock on that door and get them out of that, just that one step, they might be able to make it.
It was actually further than that, but I was being like PG about it, saying no. I'm talking about somebody who walks in your house and pulls your ass out of bed, like literally rips you off the bed. But that was a little too much, so I softened the blow on that one.
That's
And
right.
shout out to Will. He's
Of
my
course.
guy, so he knows that I mess with him about that. He's another one. He's another. He doesn't take it easy serious. And that's who I can rap with. Like him and I,
Of course.
text each other. Like it's just funny. Um, yeah, we're very. There's two parts, right? Like where we're sitting as humans today. Social media has destroyed us, and it will continue to. It's just a really, really bad thing in my view. I'm not a fan of it. At least most of these platforms. Some would be like, yeah, but you're on LinkedIn all the time. I'm like, yeah, I
It's
totally
different.
get that. Like I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth. Like I admit it. Like it sucks, but at least LinkedIn still is like PG. It's
Yeah.
still really like positive in its realm. Like there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of good content. It's almost policing itself because it doesn't allow all the muck on there. There's still some, you get a political this or whatever, but like the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the TikToks of the world, they're bad, man. Specifically the latter, like
Yeah.
these TikToks just making us dumb as shit, man. Just
Yeah.
our kids are dumb. I'm just saying, it is what it is. We're
It's
just
true.
dumb, you
It's
know.
so true.
And it's sad. It's sad. Like I'm sad for my kids. I'm sad. I don't know what their kids are going to look like. That's who I'm really worried about. If we don't get a hold of this, and then there's the other side, which is like, how would you get a hold of it? It's like let's be free, and like I'm cool with that too. But there's like there's got to be a happy medium here because with the freedom we have a bunch of bullshit and lies that go out on these channels, right? And
Hmm.
then it creates this divisiveness and what you're saying, which is like people are getting saying this or they get emotional, and then we have just the other piece which we just become super sensitive about everything
Oh
where
yeah.
we're willing to, like, what do they call it, now you say something and you're x'd out of life, like,
Oh
you're
yeah.
Joe
Cancel
Rogan and you say
culture. Yeah.
it's fucking bullshit. It's
It's
so
crazy.
stupid. It's
Crazy.
like we've just become such pussies. It's just like I'm just it is what it is, right?
Hey,
Like
you're
in
yeah.
all ways, it's 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 sad. I don't know of another way to describe it. It's sad, and that's why I talk about it too. I think you should not be on there. I
Yeah.
killed um, Instagram and Facebook since January. I'm not haven't logged in. Randomly had to because I posted one thing for work or whatever. Like we were on in Costco, but like, and it's not to say there aren't cool things. People are like, yeah, but I like seeing one of my friends having a kid. Like I do too. But why can't they just text you?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? Like
Right.
why can't phone. Like tell them I don't. I'm like when you're in Hawaii, you're like, and and the photos and the filters it's just not real.
Right.
And so what are we doing anyway? I could go on for days, dude. But
I love it.
There's a lot of stuff, man, that we're facing, and I don't believe any of it is good for our mental health. And so I just, again, talk as much as I possibly can on the flip side of it, is how to maintain and focus on our mental health through nutrition, exercise, and the other 20 things that you could be doing, sun and water, and meditation, and all the other cool stuff.
Well, that's to a T why natural remedies are so important, man. Each of these directions that we've touched on here, you can now take those things to such an extreme that it will kill you. I mean, whether it's using social media to the point where your brain is totally fried, or eating so much sugar that you're just on your deathbed, or whatever it may be, all of these directions have extremes that lead to death. So while we have freedom, that's the teeth of the freedom, isn't it? Like, if you sure have the freedom to go chug a bottle of whiskey right now. Any one of us does. We don't do it because we're pretty sure it'll kill you, right? I mean, there is a balance and sort of a discipline that's necessary to turn us around from those things and walk us back to the healthy kind of realm of balance. And so, yeah, I don't want to stop you. If you're passionate on these things, man, I think people need to hear these things, even if there is, some things that might make people a little upset. It's all right. Maybe deal with that and see why it's making you upset. I mean, like you, I actually, and I appreciate you for your content, man. You do actually inspire me quite a bit on several things. But one of them is this social media cleanse, right? And I'm not as big on Facebook or Instagram, but boy, does Twitter have a grip on me. And so I have logged out of my personal Twitter on all devices. I've still got, the business accounts there and to do the posting we need to. But yeah, man, it's too much. It's too much to have that, and to detach. It almost instantly allows your mind to breathe. You're able to kind of be present in your surroundings, and remind yourself that touching grass is a good thing. Going and hugging a person is a good thing. All those things, and it's something that can't be said enough right now. And that is, you said it beautifully, I think, right after the first of the year. And that's when I reached out to you, like, we got to get on this podcast and talk about it, man, because these things are so important, and they all are relevant to natural remedies, because there's not a surgery you have to have. There's no like magic potion that has to be done. There's like a pharmaceutical you have to take to be happy and balanced in all of these areas, and so we will continue shouting that at the rooftops as loud as we possibly can. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about exercise a little bit more. I really loved the run that you got together at Expo West, man. I think that's awesome. As I mentioned, you're kind of inspiring us a little bit. I'm going to be doing a little bit of a DFW running group. I guess this is kind of the first time I'm talking about it. But as I mentioned to you before, I got my Tough Mudder stuff up here, and shout out to Parker Olson for last episode pushing me to commit to doing the world's toughest mudder. I'm going to do that this year. It's in November, and every week we're going to get a group of people together, whoever. We're going to put an invite out there, and anybody in DFW that wants to join us to go for a run on probably like a Wednesday morning. We're just going to get a group of people together to do it. Hopefully talk about some good things, meet some different people, and get a lot of different perspectives involved there. But, I want to encourage other people to do stuff like that. And I haven't been exposed to everything you've been doing, Mark, but, what are some other things in that area of, community building and kind of getting out there that have you been able to do that you've seen have been effective?
You mean as far as the fitness stuff?
I mean, it could be fitness stuff. I think that's one way that's easy to kind of get people together in person these days. But I mean, it could also be anything else. I don't know. You mentioned your kids are in sports. Is there anything you've done with like the sports teams and trying to get parents a little bit more, I don't know, just involved in the conversation about some of this stuff?
Oh, that's a good one. No, I mean, um, they know that I'm involved. I mean, I'm out there, every year, and with the different sports and stuff like that. So it's nice. I think that, um, and they know what I do, and they know they know I'm into this stuff and all that. So they always get hooked up with snacks and all that. So it's always part of
Cool.
the overarching conversation. So we live in a fairly, I would consider, active community, in the North Bay of California. So, um, I know that there's other parts of the country, specific we're just talking about here, right?
Sure.
That is that doesn't have a focus on health as much as we do here. We got a lot of, like, trails, and so parents are a little more active than most. We still have so much more room to grow. I mean, there's no doubt about it, because there's a lot of parents who I know don't,
Yeah.
and a lot I know that are into you know extra still the extracurricular activity type stuff, right? Which I don't do anymore.
Yeah.
I'm just so basic these days, right? Like, I don't go out, I don't go, I don't have a drink and all that. It's like,
Same here.
I'm boring, man. Um, uh, but anyway, I think by just continuing to talk, and they know and stuff like that, I think in the background it's already happening. Like, people
Sure.
come up to me to say, "Hey, I went, just so you know, I went and I worked out today, just to let me know." I think that's what I call background music, right? Like, it's happening because you're creating it, and so you just want to let that continue to generate through the communities that you're in.
Yeah. No, no doubt. That was said perfect. It happens because you're really helping to create that. You're getting people's attention on it. Even as something as little as making that LinkedIn post every Saturday, right? What are y'all getting into today? It gets people
Correct.
excited to be able to tell somebody that that's what they're doing, and it's such a small thing, but very, very impactful. And so yeah, man, just any opportunity that we get to build community, I think it's important that we try to take it and share these messages. And I think what you said kind of explains that you are living that lifestyle, right? People around you know what you're about. They know what they can expect to hear from you. They know, hey, here's some good snacks. Put those Doritos away. Whatever it may be. And I think that's the best sign of you living that lifestyle and helping others feel like it's a lifestyle worth chasing. Part of the social media thing, right? It's this kind of weird dopamine hit of getting a like for doing something, and then we end up following these weird trends. We don't know why. We kind of need to reverse that. Create a trend of getting together. Create a trend of being the next person who comes up with a good health idea, a good recipe, a good activity. So. Yeah, man, I really, really, I thank you for joining me today, Mark. I know we're kind of running up on our time, so I don't want to go too long on you. Is there anything that you'd like to shout out, or any other passions that you want to voice out there for our audience?
Just focus on health, as I always say. Health for the win, as people will see me write all the time. It's so important, and off the back of so many things that we talked about today, there's a laundry list of reasons why,
Yeah.
and it's just so important today, for not just ourselves, for the people who are in our lives, and make it a commitment. That's it.
Love it, man. Love it. Make it a commitment, y'all. You will feel better today because of it. That's what we're out to do, is to help people feel better today. So I hope that y'all enjoyed some of these thoughts from Mark. Thank you again, sir, for joining us. Definitely go follow him on LinkedIn. You won't be sorry you did. Some great inspirational and motivational stuff coming through, and hopefully I can have you back sometime, man. Love to talk again. But thank you
Anytime.
for joining us, man. And everybody, enjoy your day and feel better today.